What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Frost BBM. Take a minute to check out this scene, and we about to recreate this. I want to show you guys how to utilize motion tracking, utilizing Mocha Pro, and then be able to add assets anywhere in your footage, as well as create masks with the click of a button. You see we got the dragon flying around the buildings. It's time to go to work. Let me show you how to do this. Alright, real quick, we open it up After Effects, and as you can see here, we have all of our assets. I have my footage, I have my all of my HUDs and my dragon lined up. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to drag our footage down and create a new composition. We got this beautiful footage here that I got from Envato Elements. It's a nice night drone shot of downtown Miami. So I'm going to scrub through here back and forth trying to find a good frame to begin our tracking with, and since this large building is center, dead mass, dead center, we're gonna make this our object of attention and affection. So I'm gonna scrub through here looking for that right spot. Give it a minute, let's see. All right, I think somewhere in here should work. I want it somewhere right in the middle, so we can track forward and track backwards. So this should work. I think this is be a good location. Oh, maybe not. Alright, so I'm gonna start from the beginning this way. I can track everything in the foreground and move forward, working my way towards that building. We have multiple buildings in this scene that we're gonna track, and we're gonna throw holograms on. And typically utilizing Mocha, it makes more sense to work with the buildings in the foreground in the event you need to mask anything behind it. So I'm gonna drop this Mocha Pro on my footage. Mocha AE comes free and is built into After Effects. Anybody can use it. Yes, you can use it right now. The Pro version just has more features, so if you're not sure if you want to pay for that, but you want to utilize the tracking features and play with it, just look in your effects panel, type in Mocha, and then utilize the AE version, and trust me, you're good to go. See, most of you will track your motion and create solids in those using that tracker. Mocha Pro is way better. I'm about to show you the power of this tool. You'll never go back to using the regular tracker, I promise you. So if you scroll with the center wheel on the mouse, you can go zoom in and out, click down on it, and then you can grab your scene. Super easy. So here we are, we have our scene. We've picked out the buildings that we want to track, and we're going to start with the first one. You're pretty much going to go up top, and this is your X-spline tool, and you're going to draw a area around the building. It doesn't have to be pretty. We just want to get the general area tracked, so then we can create a null and send that data to it and then place objects there. So here we have a general outline of the building, and we'll start off. Well, first let's name this because we're going to have several tracks and we want to know what goes to what. So this is building 1. We'll click the surface and the grid buttons, and what happens is that blue box that comes up when you click surface, you're going to place that in the area of the place that you want to track, and the grid is going to show you the perspective to make sure that you have your surface area flush against the area that you want to track. You can always move the blue box, the surface area, after the track because it's not keyframed in, but in the beginning you want to have it flush so you can monitor if your track moves. You can see the grid if it comes off track. So now that we have our surface area placed, our grid, everything looks nice and flush. Oh man, that thing looks beautiful. Yeah, I'm excited. Now all we're gonna do now is hit the track forward button, and look at that. You see how that grid is sticking to the building? You see nothing is falling off. All of the tracking is good. Here we got the tracking coming off, it's breaking, but it's breaking because it's no longer in the shot, which means we don't need it. So we're going to scroll back to the last good frame, and we're going to find where the track breaks at, and right here looks good because the hologram will be below the image. So at this point the hologram will no longer be in the shot. You can go into your layer properties, hit the out button, and now you see no more tracking past that point. Hit that gear button so that we don't track that same surface again. Grab your spline tool, and then we're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to start focusing on our next building, which will be this one right here. We'll take the X-spline tool, and then we'll do the same process. And I'm gonna run through all of these buildings, and I'm gonna just hit them, and then we're gonna come back and I'm gonna show you what to do next. Look at that track. Now I know I sped things up, but this really tracks that fast. All right, now last we're gonna name this last building because our nulls are gonna go corresponding with the actual track data. So now that we have everything that we want here, all we're gonna do is we're gonna close out the Mocha, save our data, and then jump back into AE. Now that we're back in AE, all we have to do is create nulls for each location. So we need 7 nulls. We'll create the first null, name it building 1, and then duplicate it, and it should come up with all the numerical values in succession, 1 through 7. Boom. Now we got all of our nulls, and we're gonna go into our initial background footage layer and start creating tracking data for each point. So we have building 1, we create tracking data for building 1. We come down here and apply the export to null for building 1. Hit corner pin supporting motion blur because we have motion, and then apply export, and you're gonna watch the null snap to building 1. You see that red square hit building 1? Boom. Now we have the 5 pins right there showing we have a 4 corner pin, and we have successful transfer to tracking data. Now we're going to do the same thing through all of the other buildings, 2 through 7, and I'll get right back with you once this is done and you guys do the same. All right, good. Now we have nulls attached to every building. And as you see, as we scrub through, those red squares stay with each building. So basically what happened is that tracking data has been transferred over. We did 7 nulls, 7 objects just that quick. Come on now, the regular tracker don't have this type of capability. It don't have these superpowers. You feel me? All right, so now look, real quick, we're gonna go up top and we're gonna drag in the asset. Let's grab one of these assets and shout out the big films. I got well, actually I own all their packs, but I got these assets from the Cyber City pack. So we got the Coca-Cola thing right here. We're gonna scale that down. We're gonna make it, fit the scene better, and then we're gonna move it. We're gonna parent this to building 1. And then we're going to take the asset and we're going to move it closer and place it into position where we want it. Now remember, null 1 went to building 1, right? With that tracking data from building 1. So all we did was apply the asset, then parent the asset using that pick whip tool to that building. And as you can see, it's sticking. As the camera moves, the asset does not stay with the center of the screen. It's stuck to the object. Right here, I'm just extending it so the animation plays through long enough, and then I'm gonna cut it to the point where we no longer need it, and then pre-compose these 2 layers to clean it up at some point. So as you can see right here, we no longer have a use for this hologram, and you can't see it any longer, so it makes sense to cut it. And you can also cut the null at that point too, because you no longer need it, just to clean your timeline up. So real quick, I'm gonna just go through. I'm gonna place assets on all of the buildings, make all the adjustments, stretch things out to make the animations fit the timeline, pre-compose them, and then I'll be right back once everything is pretty much together to show you how to do the next step. So much energy. Also, real quick, you see how I turned that layer into a 3D layer and was able to rotate it to make it fit the side of the building. So with these holograms, if you turn them into 3D layers, also make sure you make the null 3D, otherwise the object will not stick. It'll move around and flutter and look really unappealing. So we're pre-composing all of the holograms, cleaning things up, playing with the opacities, bringing them down some so we can throw a glow on there later and it's not just too overwhelming. So now here it is, we have our city, adding a couple more assets, but I mean, this is so simple, man. Mocha Pro has really just increased the workflow and just made it so that you can be so much more effective and work so much quicker. With the regular tracker, you got to go back in, create a solid, create a node, come back, do this, do that. And I mean, it's not too difficult, but this really just made something, it really made it that much easier. And wait until I show you how to create a mask, utilizing the same tracking data that we just used to track these buildings. So now we brought the Dragon in. Shout out to Big Films. I got this asset from them as well in their Dark Magic pack, which has some really cool assets. So you can see the Dragon is doing a loop and it's going to swing around. But watch when it comes over to these buildings how it flies in front of the buildings. And then it comes pretty much back in front of the main building. We don't want that. We want the Dragon to fly behind the buildings and go around them and then circle back at the end and fly in front of the sign. To do that, we're going to have to mask out these buildings so that it appears that the Dragon is flying behind them. So the first thing we have to do is duplicate the bottom layer, bring it all the way to the top, and then we're going to go back inside of Mocha and we're going to create the masks that we need. So we know that the Dragon flies around this section of this building. So we're gonna just take our X-spline tool and we're gonna create a mask and make sure this mask is neat right around the edges of the area that we want masked out. Now let me show you the magic of Mocha. Now that we have a nice clean line on those edges, I'm gonna highlight them all, pull these corners tight and make them square off. And now this is the sauce. Here comes the sauce. This is the cheat code. Remember when we tracked this building the first time, it was main building, so we have tracking data on this building. Turn that gear off so it doesn't track. We just want to mask. Let's name this so we know what we have. We have main building mask. And since this was main building on a track, we're just going to take that information from that layer, apply it to the mask, and now watch how the mask just stays right in place. We do not need to track the mask over. We do not need to do any of that. That is the beauty of Mocha. All of the data is transferable. You know, you do it once and that's it. Oh man, so now pretty much we're going to take that same process. We're going to do the exact same thing for this other building. We're going to create a mask around it. And then we're going to take the old data from the previous building and then we're going to apply it to that mask so the mask stays in place. So you can track and then come back and then throw your masks in using the track data. Come on, man. They must have had me in mind when they did this. They said we getting saucy for them. So now we have our two masks. We're going to close Mocha, save the data, and then jump back in After Effects. Now that we back in After Effects, we're gonna go inside of this tab, and we're gonna go to visible layers, and we only want the last two layers that we created to be visible, which should be the main building mask and I believe layer 10. Turn everything off and then just click create AE masks, and boom! Come on now, you see that? That's saucy, man. That is so saucy. Now watch, give it a second. We're gonna feather the edges of the mask to make it look really nice and subtle. And then when we play this back, you should see the dragon fly around the buildings opposed to now being in front of them. Yo, come on, man. Ain't nothing messing with Mocha, man. Y'all owe me one. I'm coming to collect. I just made your job easier. Well, Mocha made the job easier, and I learned, and then I just passed it on to you. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that y'all take something from this and just make your job easier. I do advise that you get the pro version, because rotoscoping in the pro version is major, because you can use the power mesh. And there are just so many other features and things that you can do with this application. So I advise you go buy the pro version. It'll be worth it. It'll make your life easier and make creating fun. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully you guys learned something and you can utilize it in your next project. Whatever you do, never give up. Keep going.